Sunday. Welcome to Dr. J's Prescription for Health. I am your host, Dr. Malea Jensen. I am a family practice physician. I'm located in Des Moines, Iowa. I've been practicing for 27 years. It's been a good ride. So today we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube and Instagram. All right. We'll get started here. We'll let people jump on and then we'll get started. I do have some questions left over from yesterday. They came flying in at the end, and so we're going to start that way. But this is your opportunity. If you have questions regarding health or, your labs, anything like that, let us know, and I'll answer them as best I can. So I think we got everybody going on here. They all know about it. Okay. So the first question that came in, and some of these were, I think, after the fact. I asked if I could put these on a public answer, and they did not. Mind if I would do that. So the first question from yesterday at the end was, to me personally, do I eat butter? And the answer is yes. I don't know if they really wanted to know anything else, but yes, I eat butter, I eat tallow, I eat some lard, and I eat ghee. But my favorite is butter, my second favorite is tallow, my third favorite is ghee, and then lard would be last but not least. It's just not one of my favorites. I'd much rather have beef. I have an interesting fact though, as far as butter is concerned. Have you ever wondered why butter or tallow or something like that, it doesn't mold or it doesn't go bad? Why is that? And especially for butter, I was just thinking about this, and I actually had to look it up. I AI'd it, and I wanted to see what AI had to say. Why butter is what many people might consider antibacterial. Like, why doesn't it mold? Why isn't it doing anything? And the answer lies in the amount of fat that is in butter. You see, butter is 80% fat. And because of that fat, it acts like a barrier. Microbes, mold, bacteria, viruses, they need water. They need water to survive or to consume, and with butter being 80% fat, microbes can't survive. Now add in a salted butter, and you just decrease the amount, or you basically increase the barrier even more. It reduces water activity, and so again, the microbes don't have anything to survive with. They need water. So I thought that was an interesting fact. And yes, you can look it up on AI. So you guys, this is your opportunity to ask questions. I'm just going through some questions from yesterday that came up after the fact, after I'd signed off. And I said that I would answer them today. So the first one was on butter. The second one was, how much water do we need? Well, I think it's different for everybody. And it makes a difference what activities you're doing. If you are a person who's sweating and losing a lot of electrolytes, you're going to probably need more water and more electrolytes. Most of us will say, well, I'm just going to let my body decide. So I'm going to listen to my body and drink and eat whenever my body says to eat and drink. Well, I have to hand it to you. That is a wonderful thought, but it doesn't work. In fact, your body lies to you. It would rather eat and drink, and it doesn't rely on anything else but I want it now. So it doesn't really know whether you need it or not. Despite the fact that you think that, I'm more along the lines that your body will lie because it is afraid. It's afraid it's not going to get any more food, and it's also afraid that it is not going to get enough water. I have had people in my practice who are overweight, and they so badly want to lose weight. They're obese, and they have tried to cut calories. They've tried, and they get hungry. Now that, or they'll say that I'm starving, but that is not starvation. That hunger, that first hunger, is more so a trigger that can last about 2 hours in your body, and then it comes and goes. Sometimes it's gone faster. Like some people say, "Ooh, I'm hungry," and then in half an hour of not thinking about it, you're not hungry anymore. Starvation is the actual being without any energy on your body. So you're starving. To truly be in starvation, you have to be out of fatty acids. If you are obese, you have plenty of fatty acids to sustain you without eating. But what I mean by our body lies to us is you might think you're hungry, you might think you're thirsty. You may not be either of those two things. You and your body, it's lying to you because it's afraid that it's not going to get anything. Let me give you an example, and I tried to bring this to the point. An obese patients that come to me and they've tried cutting calories. They've even tried going without, say, their favorite pie, okay? But then they'll get the pie. And instead of eating just one piece, they will eat the whole thing all at once. They cannot stop. And they even told me that, if I just eat it now and get it gone, I won't think about it anymore. So I'm just going to eat it all right now. They've told me these things. This is how their mind works. And, that person is in desperation. Their mind and their body's playing tricks on them because they're afraid if they don't eat that, they may not get any more pie again. So if I put it in the refrigerator, the family might eat it, or it might go bad, or whatever it is. So if I just consume it all right now, I'll get it. And it is a crazy thing that, what our body does. But I have such compassion for people that have obesity and, it's hard for them to navigate changing their diet. Because their insulin is so high all the time, it is very difficult for them to lose any fat. And until they get it through their, get that strength or get the I don't want to say willpower, but once they start changing what they're eating, their insulin level is going to come down. And then they can, practice fasting or exercise or do these things. But when it comes to water, our body also lies. We used to be told that, you need an ounce for every pound of weight. So if you weigh 120 pounds, you should get in 120 ounces of water. And that is simply not true. I think sometimes that we over consume water. We're hurting our kidneys. We are putting our kidneys at a disadvantage because their job is to concentrate urine. So if you continue to drink water when you don't need it, even though you say your body needs it, it really doesn't. It's lying to you. You don't need that much water. I think we're over consuming. But the kidneys are taking the brunt of it because you're drinking a whole bunch of water, causing a dilute water. Kidneys are working overtime to try to counteract that because it doesn't want to spill all of the electrolytes and the resources. So we're basically diluting all of our vitamins and minerals. Drinking too much can be a problem as well. You guys, I am live right now on YouTube and Instagram. This is not medical advice. It's for information purposes only. So let me have your questions. Let's see where you guys are coming from with the water, with butter, since that was our question. Okay. Next question. I wrote these down, you guys, because they were really good. Here's a question that was asked to me, but I want to ask it back to you guys. And I'll give you some time I'll give you some time to answer. But I want you to think about this. Does nature want us to be skinny or fat? Does nature want us to be skinny or fat? Now, while I'm waiting for you guys to reply, I want to discuss what is fat. And many of you, and even including myself, will say, well, it's an energy source. But I want to break it down even further and just in a different category. Yes, fat is an energy source. But what is it? If we were to describe fat, not cosmetically, not on your body, I mean, it is on your body, it is cosmetic for some of us. But when I categorize fat, I either think of fat as animal fat or I think of it as a plant fat. Animal fat is, we are animals, so the fat that we get from animals is more like us. When I discuss plant fat, I think of oils. I think of industrialized oils that from a plant, our body does not use as it would animal fats. Animal fats are so much more important for us than plants. Again, plant fats are oils and they are industrialized. Okay? And that goes for even olive oil or coconut oil. I know that you guys think that they taste good and they have these nutrients in them, these fatty acids, but we can get everything we need from animal fats that we can assimilate into our body better than we can a plant fat. So did I get any? Jody says causes of hair loss. Great question. But nobody wants to answer my question first about the types of fat. Or are we meant to be fat or skinny? From nature's perspective, fat or skinny? And the answer is, nobody answered. You're shy. You guys are shy. The answer is fat. In nature wants us to be fat, not skinny. Why is that? Well, think about a bear. Because we're living in a world of prosperity and abundance, we never deprive ourselves. And so, if you think about a bear, they hibernate and they can live on their own body fat, their own body energy for the whole winter. So they will hibernate for the whole winter. So in nature wants the bear to be fat so it doesn't have to rely on going hunting in the dead of winter trying to look for food. No, it's going to hibernate and live off its own body fat. And so that's what I mean by, in nature, does nature want us to be fat or skinny? And the answer is fat. Now, another thing that people might wonder is obesity pathologic or is it physiologic? Is it a normal process? Is it normal physiological, biological process is that how we would describe obesity? Or do we describe obesity as pathologic? And this is a really good question, and that came up because you could answer it differently. And this is why we have paradigm clashes, okay? I think if we have visceral fat, so we have fat around our organs, to me, that is pathologic. If you're describing superficial subcutaneous fat or deep, well, not even deep, but superficial subcutaneous fat, that is physiologic. It is a normal occurrence for our body. Pathologic fat is not. So, but you will have, I can kind of go about both ways, and I could say, well, it's both. It's both, pathologic and it's physiologic. But some people will adamantly say that fat is not at all pathologic. It's found in nature. And again, I think these are paradigm clashes, and I think you can use your logic and see, hey, where do I stand on this? Awesome Bill says bacon rocks. I agree with you. And yes, being fat, it just depends on this. Over on YouTube, ID says that being fat is more healthy. Again, you're going to have paradigm clashes, and this is where I'm at. See, everybody can have an idea of where physiologic or pathologic, and healthy doesn't really fit both of those. I'm asking, is it physiologic? So it's normal physiologic. I'm not saying is it healthy or not, because what is the definition of healthy? But is it pathologic? And I'm saying that visceral fat indeed is pathologic. Over time, if you have fatty liver, you are going to lead to scarring and fibrosis, inflammation, and the hepatocytes, the liver cells will die. They'll get cirrhotic over time. There you go from what I would call a fatty liver to a fibrotic, which is stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you get to cirrhosis or hepatic cancer, liver cancer. You guys have to decide, but from my perspective, getting rid of visceral fat is more important than getting rid of your subcutaneous fat right off the bat, okay? The subcutaneous fat's gonna come off if you are eating a diet that lowers insulin. The job of insulin, I know you wanna think that it's for, blood sugar getting into the cells, but really the insulin's job of many, but one of its main jobs is to make cells fat. It grows fat. It's a growth hormone. And when insulin is high, fat is going to accumulate. Fat cells grow. All cells grow. Fat cells grow. So you will get more fat when insulin levels are elevated. That's why it's very difficult for people to lose body fat, because their insulin levels are very high. Okay? If you lower your insulin, your fat content will start burning. You'll start burning fatty acids off your body. All right? Now, let's switch gears. Let's talk about exercise. And yesterday, we mentioned the types of exercises and which is better for us, or which would, when we talk about exercise versus diet, and in the context of losing weight, diet is always going to win. Your weight loss, your ability to get well relies more on your diet than it does on your exercise program. Exercise is about 25%, whereas the diet is 75%. So if we change our diet, you're going to get a bigger bang for your buck. I'm not telling you not to exercise and that it's a waste of time. I did not say that. I think everybody should exercise. I think everybody should get outside and reap the benefits of being in nature. I choose a form of exercise that, again, I'm going to get the biggest bang for my buck. If I want to lose fat or increase my ability for autophagy, decrease my ability for chronic stress, I'm going to choose weightlifting and HIIT over chronic cardio. Chronic cardio is only going to increase stress to your body. It's going to lead to inflammation over time. It's also going to raise mTOR. mTOR is good. We need it because it causes growth, but you don't need it all the time. And if you're chronically doing prolonged cardio, mTOR is going to remain high. Stress is going to cause release of cortisol. Cortisol is going to increase blood sugar, and blood sugar is going to raise insulin. So over time, you are gaining fat, and you're especially gaining fat in the organs, around the organs. Okay? Jody says, I'm meant to be skinny. What was the question about the types of fats? Lucy, types of fats, when I look at a fat, is it an animal fat or is it a plant fat? We can assimilate animal fats. We cannot assimilate plant fats, despite what you might already have believed. Lucy says, I've been checking my blood glucose every morning this week. I'm not eating carbs or sugars. My exercise is on point. Why is my blood glucose always at 95 fasting? I'm guessing when you get up, Lucy, now correct me if I'm wrong, you're getting up somewhere before 9 a.m. and our cortisol is very high in the morning. It is normal. That's a normal physiologic process for cortisol to go up in the morning because it's preparing us to get ready for our day. When cortisol is high, it's going to raise blood sugar. So you could check it every day at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. when you get up and your blood sugar is 95. And most of you would say, oh my gosh, 95 is great. Well, to be optimal, an optimal blood sugar that's fasting in the morning is in the 70 to 80 range. What I would suggest to you, Lucy, is not checking your blood sugar when you get up in the morning, but wait till around 10 or 11 a.m. You're still fasting, hopefully. Just try it a few times. You don't need to do it every day, but just try to fast to 10 or 11 and then check it. I'm guessing it will be in the optimal range because cortisol rises at about 3 a.m. and then it continues to rise till about 9 a.m. And then it seems to level off until about 6 p.m. And then after 6 p.m., it starts to come down. Okay, it's starting to come down at that time. And that's preparing us to get ready for bed. Unfortunately, some of us exercise at night. Well, that causes stress like a fight or flight, and then that raises blood sugar. And then you go home and you eat and you're consuming more blood sugar. So then your blood sugars are elevated before you go to bed. And this is a recipe for having high insulins in the middle of the night. And, it's a stress. So you're always have elevated mTOR despite the fact that you're not eating. But yeah, mTOR high, insulin high, glucose high, those are all stressors and not good for us. You should eat, I think that people should eat before 5 p.m. and they should eat only when it's light. We are supposed to eat when it's light, sleep when it's dark. That is physiologic. So Lucy, hopefully that answers your question. The other question is, what are the causes of hair loss? Good question. There's a lot, but I don't know if you're a man or a woman. I didn't look and I'm not going to go back, but a lot of times we will have hair loss if androgens are high. So if man or woman, when androgens are high and they're aromatizing, we have higher risk of increasing balding, hair loss. Now, if women, anytime, well, men and women, anytime that we change our diet, let's just say we go from standard American diet to any other diet, whether it's vegan, vegetarian, carnivore, ketovore, lion, anytime that you change your diet and change it drastically from a standard American diet, you are going to experience a stress. And hair loss is one of those stressors. Can be. And usually once the person is on that diet for, a month or two, then hair growth restarts. But it can be scary. And we just have to accept that. Also what is happening when we change our diet, usually from a standard American diet to anything else that we consider healthy, is the fact that we lose weight right away. And our body likes homeostasis. It likes status quo. It does not want a drastic weight loss at all. It wants to maintain homeostasis. So if you start dieting and you lose a bunch of weight, you're going to lose your hair because your blood flow to your hair is like the least of the least. Same with your nails. You don't want it. We're not going to waste blood flow going to our hair, all the nutrients, because you've changed your nutrients. It was expecting all of blah, 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 but it's not getting that. It's getting less and a denser, nutrient dense diet, but your body's not used to it. So it thinks it's like starving. So it's going to decrease blood flow to your hair, your nails, your things that are irrelevant for your body, they think. So to the body, the hair is the least of its worries. It wants the heart to be good and the kidneys and the liver and all of the vital organs, not your hair. So that is one, rapid weight loss. Number two, just a shift in diet. Number three, what if you are a vegan or vegetarian? Plants are their types of fats, proteins, and, well, fats and proteins are not the ones that we can assimilate into our body as well. PCOS, that's another one. So high insulin can cause higher androgens, can cause balding. DHT, dihydrotestosterone, that is when that's high, male pattern baldness. Okay. What else? All right. Question on this exercise. So if exercise can be a problem, and too much exercise can be a problem. So can we exercise too much? The answer is yes. And there was a study back in 2017, it was in Circulation, I believe, the Journal of Circulation. And it was written by, there was 3 authors, and one was, their last name was Cox, C-O-X, written in 2017. And they did a study on elite athletes. They did this study on elite athletes, and they found that coronary plaquing increased more in elite athletes. So, athletes that are training hard, they're doing marathons or triathlons or 100-mile runs or doing things like this. Their calcium plaquing on their calcium scoring test, their CAC scores, were elevated even more so than somebody who doesn't exercise at all. And so is too much exercise a problem? And this study said yes, too much of a good thing increases heart disease. We think it's good for us to do long, prolonged cardio or elite athlete training. Like one of my patients is a elite bicyclist, elite cyclist, and they do have an elevated calcium score. They're eating basically a carnivore diet and still has increasing calcium score. And that, my friends, is because of the stress. Their stress, their high cortisol is causing sugar to elevate. And sugar is one thing that can cause injury to the endothelial lining of our arteries. So I've talked about like what causes an injury. Alcohol, sugar, heavy metals, nanoplastics, tobacco, all of these things can cause an injury to the endothelial lining. In the case of an elite athlete, they might be consuming a ton of energy drinks, or they might be full of sugar, or just energy bars or things like that. They're increasing their amount of sugar in their body, and they're causing stress to their body over prolonged periods of time. That elevation of sugar and insulin, because you need insulin, right? That elevation is causing an injury. And so the endothelial cells are being damaged. And the progenitor endothelial cells that come from our bone marrow can't come to the rescue fast enough, because it's so much stress over prolonged periods of time in the presence of high carbohydrate diets. Most of these elite athletes, we're setting our body up for heart disease. The endothelial cells are damaged, and therefore less nitric oxide. It can be a problem. Let me see. You guys over on YouTube, well, I guess on Instagram too, if you have a question and it's a medical question that you would like me to answer, put QQQ in front of it so I know where we're going with our questions, okay? Just put a QQQ. ID says, ID must be Vegetables will foul up your system, especially lettuce. Our system, as in our bowels, is that what you mean by system? That comes to a question that comes up a lot is for a person who is on keto, well, not so much keto, but let's just say carnivore or even ketovore or a lion diet. These diets are mainly animal-based diets. You're eating beef and the ruminant meats. So cow, bison, buffalo, elk, sheep, lamb, deer. The ruminant meats are going to be what most carnivores are eating, along with butter and eggs, maybe some oily fish, but mostly of the animal-based nature. Now, a question will come up and say, well, what are you going to do with, what are we going to do if you don't have fiber? Well, I can answer that. There is no essential fiber. Zero. Do we need fiber? No. It is a plant. It is from a plant. We cannot break down fiber. Fiber, by definition, is indigestible. It comes out as waste. Fiber is probably needed in a person who has high carbohydrate diet. If you're in a high carbohydrate diet, you're going to produce waste. A carnivore diet has very little waste because all of the food that a carnivore eats is nutrient dense and it is absorbed in the small intestine. Now, the person who's eating a bunch of either crapola or a bunch of plant foods, which is crapola, in my opinion, they are increasing their waste. And so, yes, lettuce or salads or things like that we eat raw is even worse than if we were to eat it cooked. But these products, these plants, we actually describe them as roughage. Get your roughage, get your fiber. Well, roughage to me means roughing up the internal lining of the colon. You are actually causing more inflammation. You are causing separation in the cells of the colon. We're getting gap junctions. You're getting a leaky gut. Some people don't believe in leaky gut. That's fine. Keep reading. Maybe you'll start believing. But inflammation in our bowel walls is caused by fiber, things that have plants in them. It's irritating our lining. And you say, well, don't we need a good biome? And don't the microbiome, the bugs, don't they need fiber? It helps a variety of bacteria grow. Well, have you ever just thought that we really don't need a diverse biome? It is not us really digesting anything we eat. It's the microbiome. It's the bugs in your gut that is digesting your food for you. So if you are consuming things that is roughage and we can't digest it, we don't have those enzymes in our body, you're relying on the microbiome, the bacteria, to break down your stuff, cause fermentation, and the result is a bowel movement of the stuff that you can't use, which you couldn't use. You wanted to just feed your biome, and they're living rent-free in you. You see, whatever we eat, we're going to develop bacteria that eat that food. And so if you only eat a carnivore diet, you're only eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, then you are going to develop a biome that only eats those things. Your waste will be much smaller. You might not go every day. That is not the definition of constipation. The definition of constipation is actually having symptoms of bloating and straining and cramping. That is definition of constipation, not frequency of bowel movements. Idea, you asking me questions from what I hear is wheat is bad for us. You see, wheat has proteins in it. Plants have proteins. And those proteins we react to. We can't break them down. Gluten and glutenin are proteins. So gluten and gliadin and glutenin are proteins in wheat, and we cannot break them down. And they really play havoc on our gut. And you'll say, well, I'm gluten intolerant, or I can't eat wheat. Well, duh. It's not genetic. We can't eat it. Most people actually can't. They don't know that they can't eat it because they accept the symptoms: bloating and belching and cramping and feeling like you're going to have a bowel movement. You don't have a. You guys, that is not normal. That is not a normal situation to be passing wind. That is not normal. Ask a carnivore if they are having flatulence. Most likely, they say no. That all ended when they got rid of their plants. They stopped eating plants. Those bacteria that were eating the plants, fermenting it and causing gases, were no longer needed, so they died off. We can change our bowel flora in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Jag, why would we need fiber if we're pre-diabetic? How did we get to a stage of prediabetes? Diabetes, by definition, is toxicity of sugar, carbohydrates. It's carbohydrate toxicity. So if you're eating carbohydrates, you do need fiber to get it out of your body. It's a plant. It has cellulose. We do not have cellulase enzymes. So they will tell you to eat fiber if you're a diabetic. How about eliminate the thing that's causing a diabetic? Sugar and carbs. Get it out of your system. Now you reverse your prediabetes. Fiber is not decreased. If you're pre-diabetic and you want to continue eating your high carb, sugar, toxicity diet, you better eat some fiber. Good thing. It'll at least take care of some of the sugar. You'll grow big bugs. They'll live rent-free in your gut. Again, I would try to get you to think about eliminating your disease by eliminating the cause of it. Carbohydrates. Okay? Carbohydrates are sugar. How does prediabetes present? Your doctor better be looking for it, but you might not notice. We miss prediabetes years and years in advance. Doctors are not looking for it, and that is a shame. I think if you have a relationship with your doctor, you need to be asking them to obtain an A1C, a fasting blood sugar, a fasting insulin, and get a lipid panel. You can tell if you're pre-diabetic by looking at your fasting blood sugar, not so much, fasting insulin, even better. An A1C, not so much, but there are levels. 5.7, 5.8, 5.9 is prediabetes. And then looking at your triglyceride to HDL ratio. If your triglycerides are elevated and your HDL is low, you likely have prediabetes. You have high insulin. You have metabolic problems. You are on your way to full-blown diabetes. Toya says, what should the numbers be for fasting insulin? Anywhere between 3 and 5. 3 and 5. Those are optimal ranges. The normal blood sugar in your body is about 1 teaspoon. Okay? It is 1 teaspoon. That is normal. That is what is needed for our body. But we overconsume. And we overconsume to the point that we also continue to eat and consume out for multiple hours of the day. They told us, and now we've developed a habit to eat breakfast, lunch, and supper, and then having snacks in between. And that is not the right thing to do because you're constantly grazing. We are not grazing type animals. We are an animal that basically eats and then it shouldn't need to eat again. That's why we fast. Fasting is like a normal process for a human. But what we've been told to do is eat the food pyramid and eat multiple times a day. Well, that keeps your your glucose levels elevated. They never have a chance to come down. So if they're always elevated, they are going to raise insulin. Insulin's always going to be elevated. So once the insulin spikes, it's going to drop your blood sugar. You're going to get hungry. You're going to eat again, and it's a vicious cycle. Can you repeat the triglyceride and the sugar level? Show in DM is coming. Show in DM is coming. I'm not sure what yours. Can I repeat the triglyceride levels? Yes. If your triglycerides are elevated, for me, an optimal level for triglycerides is 70. An optimal level for HDL is also 70. They should be a 1-to-1 ratio of triglyceride to HDL. So 70 divided by 70, 1. Okay? Now, if your triglycerides are 150 and your HDL is 50, that is a ratio of 3. Your risk for having heart disease is very high, no matter what your LDL is. The triglyceride to HDL ratio will tell you. If the triglyceride to HDL ratio is very high, like that 3, and you have high LDLs, guess what? Those LDLs are a dangerous type of LDL. They are oxidized. We do not want oxidized LDL causing havoc in our arteries of our heart, or any artery for that matter. So our goal is to get our triglycerides lower. How do we do that? No carbs. Carbs, alcohol, they raise triglycerides. HDL, we want that higher. We want triglycerides lower, HDL higher. How do we get HDL to raise? 1, a low carb diet. 2, exercise. 3, high saturated fat, animal fat. Animal fat and exercise will really raise HDL to nice levels. I've seen some carnivores get their HDL up to 70, 80, 90. Okay? Lucy says, back from a bike ride. Thanks for keeping me company and sharing your wisdom. You're welcome. Does that mean you're leaving us now? Kelly says, I was on carnivore for 1 year and had diarrhea all the time. Switched to a plant-based 90% and red meat 10%. Feel much better. In your opinion, what is the best way to eat? Well, Kelly, by reading your thing, it really shouldn't matter what I think is the best way to eat. But you have found that the best way for you to eat is 90% plant-based and 10% meat. You have to go with what your body is feeling. Would I eat that diet? No. But again, should that matter? And what I'm saying is, did you give, you said how long? You were carnivore for 1 year. One, you didn't say, do you have a gallbladder? I don't know if you have a gallbladder. Okay. So I would want to know that. I would also want to know, what was your fat to protein ratio on your carnivore diet? Because that can matter. Hello, Food Karen. Good to see you on here. Cricket also asks a question about diarrhea. I've lost over 40 pounds because as soon as I eat, 15 to 20 minutes later, I get the runs. Can you suggest anything? Well, before suggesting anything, Cricket, I'd want to again know why what you're eating already. So that would help me understand. Toya, is this safe for review? It is. It'll always be on YouTube. So if you go to @IronLadyDoc on YouTube, you'll find all of my videos and live streams. Also on Instagram, I believe they preserve them. On Facebook, they get rid of them after 30 days. So they will no longer be available on Facebook. And that's why I'm kind of moving over to doing Instagram and YouTube. So they're always going to be available. Again, you're going to have to eliminate some people who were used to watching me on Facebook at Center Stage Primary Care. And now, with the trend, and Meta just started doing this. And they are sending your files to you. But my goodness, who wants to download files every 30 days and plug up their computer when they can be preserved on Instagram? And even though Instagram's Meta, I guess it's just Facebook that's doing this. Okay. All right. Salt, question here is, can you get too much salt? I think it goes back to what are you consuming? If you're eating a carnivore diet, I don't believe you can eat too much salt. You'll get really, really thirsty. You will pee it out. So you're going to be dumping a lot of water. And because your insulin level is low on a carnivore diet. So you're going to be dumping water and you're going to dump salt. So no, I don't think that you're going to get too much salt. You might just be uncomfortable. There are carnivores out there, one being Dr. Chafee. He does not eat any salt, or so he says. Okay, I've never, been in his presence. I don't know if he's salting. He says he's not salting his foods. But yeah, I don't think we would overdo salt as much as something else. So I want you to picture this. If you eat a ton of salt, you're on a carnivore diet and you're eating a ton of salt, you're going to pee it out. You're going to pee out the excess. Now, that is not true if you eat a high sugar diet. You eat a high sugar diet and you're going to get fat. It's plain and simple. Salt is not our enemy. It is not the culprit that it has been made out to be by leading cardiologists who tell you that you should limit your salt. Well, the reason you should limit your salt is because the person who's got heart disease because of what they were eating. And so if they continue to eat the foods that they're eating, right? I consider that crapola. It's full of processing. It's full of high carbs. Your sugar levels are going to be high. Your insulin levels are going to be high, and you're going to get salt and water retention. So naturally, the cardiologist is going to tell you, just stop eating salt. He didn't say, hey, stop consuming carbohydrates, sugars, that's raising your blood sugar, and insulin, which is causing injury to your arterial lining, the glycocalyx, the endothelial cells. It's damaging them. He didn't once say that. You see, we've been bamboozled for so many years. They've been bamboozling doctors for as long as, well, we can go back to years and years and years. But our training tells us these things, and we can't, because we're so highly educated, we can't get it out of our head that it's possible that we're all bamboozled. And, I don't believe in this, salt is bad for us thing. I do believe sugar is bad for us. We need some sugar, not more than a teaspoon. We can survive without more than a teaspoon, trust me. Linda says, what does it mean if you don't have a gallbladder? Well, if you don't have a gallbladder, then you don't have stored up bile. So our liver makes bile salts from cholesterol. So to start out with, you need cholesterol. Where do we get cholesterol? Animals. You want to eat fat and cholesterol from animals. We cannot assimilate plant sterols. That's not cholesterol. That is plant sterols. It is not the same as saturated fat from animals and cholesterol. So cholesterol helps the liver make bile salts. And then this bile is stored in the liver. Bile's job is to emulsify fat and put it into the lymphatic system and then back into the bloodstream. So we cannot emulsify fats as well if we don't have gallbladder that stores bile. And then if we're not emulsifying the fat, it can cause diarrhea. So people who do not have a gallbladder have increasing problems with diarrhea. Now, there has been some study that show that the common bile duct can outpouch a little bit and store some bile. If you don't have a gallbladder and you want to be carnivore and you want a healthy dose of fat, like 2-to-1 fat to protein content, my recommendation is eat smaller meals through the day. So your body will secrete bile. So your liver will secrete it still. It just can't store it. And so you're kind of, if you slam yourself with a bunch of ribeye steak and fat, your body might not be able to produce it fast enough. So then you're going to get diarrhea. I'm hoping this makes sense, but that is the basic why we have a gallbladder that we so easily want to just remove. And you've been told by a surgeon that, hey, you don't need that gallbladder, it doesn't do anything. Or you got stones and you're doomed. I don't believe that. You see, if our gallbladder was not being used, so you're eating refined crapola diet full of carbs, alcohol, your gallbladder stops working. He's resting, and there's no use of it. And so sludge builds up because the liver is still producing bile, and the gallbladder is going to still try to store it. But if you're not using it, and the wall of the gallbladder needs exercise. So if the gallbladder is not being used, he becomes flaccid and weak and floppy. When we use him, he squeezes bile into, he's storing it, and then he secretes it into the small intestine. And if that gallbladder is not being exercised, he's going to get a weak muscular wall, and then sludge is going to develop. If the bile's not producing, it just sits in that sac, that flaccid sac, floppy sac, and it gets sludgy. And then the sludge can develop stones. And then let's say you do eat a really good ribeye and, a couple of vegetables, or just some ribeye and a pat of butter. Your gallbladder is not used to doing that. And so it's going to contract, and it's going to contract on sludge and contract on gallstones. And that's going to shoot it into the duct, and it could get stuck. Sometimes the gallbladder and the stones inside will act like a ball valve effect. And when you eat, they'll bounce up and down in there. It's not dangerous, but you could get symptoms. Some people will say, oh, I'm just going to take ox bile. I don't think that's a good thing either, because now you're giving yourself a false sense and even maybe more bile than you actually need. That's going to make you fat. You can get fat our natural body will take in fatty acids and burn fatty acids, take in fatty acids. But if you're trying to really store them or really emulsify them, throw them into the thoracic duct, and they're not being excreted, guess what? You can gain weight. Fat weight. Are you still reviewing labs? Yes, I am. That is my main job. This is secondary, is doing live streams and reels and preparing for material to teach you guys. But what my main job is going over labs. If you would like to consult with me in regards to your labs, please email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL, IronLadyDoc@AOL, and I'd be happy to schedule you an appointment, and we can go over your labs. I think it's very important for everybody to get baseline labs. It's very important to know where you're at. What are your risks of having heart disease? What are your risks of getting diabetes? Doctors are not looking. They're looking at a blood sugar for diabetes, and your blood sugars are going to be normal. Initially, your blood sugars will be normal. Even if you're pre-diabetic, they're going to be normal. Why? Because your insulin level is so high. You take so much more insulin to keep your blood sugars down. So they're going to look normal. If you don't get an insulin level, you'll never know. That's why we get insulin levels. You need to, when we get labs, you also need to, like if you're checking thyroid, just getting a TSH, it's not enough. You want to get a free T3, a free T4. You want to get a reverse T3. You got to get all of these things. You can't just get, well, this is what my panel for my doctor gets. What? That's it? They either don't know what they're doing, or two, they don't know what they're doing, so they don't order anything, so they don't have to tell you anything. The least amount of labs that the doctor orders, the least they have to tell you that are wherever they're at. And usually what they'll have to do is the nurse will call you and say, everything looks good, I'll see you next year. Well, everything looks good as far as what? Well, they're all in the normal range. Nurse, ma'am, that is not a normal range. That's a reference range. That's not optimal. I'm comparing myself to a whole bunch of sick people. Now, send those labs over to me. I'm going to have somebody else look at these. Because obviously you're not. Okay. Let me see here. Yes, yep. Reviewing labs for consult. IronLadyDoc at AOL. Just email me and we'll get you set up. Linda says, but isn't it difficult if you've stopped eating junk? It's difficult to get off high blood pressure meds if you've been on it forever. Are you asking me a question? Because I've seen lots of people reverse their diseases and get off their medicines on a carnivore diet. So if you've stopped eating junk, I would like to know, what is your diagnosis of junk? Because if you're just eating potatoes, rice, and pastas, that is junk still. It's still going to raise blood sugar, and it's still going to raise insulin. And insulin is going to cause salt and water retention, and salt and water retention are going to keep your blood pressure high. Therefore, your need for blood pressure medicines. But if you stop carbohydrates, blood sugar comes down, insulin comes down, water and salt are excreted, your blood pressure comes down. No need for medicines. Does that make sense, Linda? You know, I don't know what your diagnosis of junk is. Junk could be, I'm going to stop eating candy and potato chips. Junk crapola, in my book, is any carb. Any carb that's causing, you got to where you're at with high blood pressure because of what you've been eating or your lifestyle. And what I mean by that is, you don't sleep well, you're not exercising, you're not praying, you're not getting out in the sun, you're not doing these things. You're eating too many carbohydrates, not enough fat and protein. Linda says, I've been on meds since my 30s. Yes, I was eating carbs. Now I've eliminated carbs and sugar. Well, sugar is carbs, but okay, I get your point. So now I'm guessing from what you've described is you are carnivore or lion diet, right? And so slowly, if you're on blood pressure medicines, you have to be very careful because the medicines, if your sugar level's down, your insulin level's down, you're not holding your salt and water, be very careful taking your blood pressure medicines because you can get dizzy and fall because your blood pressure's too low. You have to work with your doctor and start weaning off of your blood pressure medicines, especially if it's a beta blocker. That one needs to be weaned off. Angela asks, what is a lion diet? It is basically meat, salt, and water. Ruminant meat, salt, and water. So the ruminaries are bison, buffalo, elk, deer, cow, sheep, lamb. Those are ruminant meats, and that is the lion diet. So ruminant meat, salt, and water. You're very welcome, Linda. So good question. Emilio says, how do I subscribe to your channel? Just hit the subscription button. Hit the thumbs up while you're over there, okay? Let's see what we can do over there on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for a while, but now I'm just starting to really get more into doing the live streams. I think it's very important to provide you guys with information. That is what I do. Just like what Kelly asked, she feels good on a plant-based diet, 90-10, okay? She's found that that's how her body feels the best. My goal for you guys is to not really tell you what to do. You don't have to do what I do. I want to just provide you with information. So if I were to tell Kelly that, well, you shouldn't do that, don't do that, do you think Kelly is going to say, oh, Dr. Jensen said don't eat that 90% plant, 10%? No, she's probably going to say, toodaloo, Dr. Jensen, I'm going to do my thing. I don't want that to happen. I want Kelly to continue to listen because I want to just give some thought process to this. So Kelly eats 90% plants. Are those plants raw? Are we just eating raw plants? Raw plants are high in oxalates and phytates and lectins, and those are toxins. Whether you experience toxic side effects or not, they're still toxins. Oxalates bind to vitamins, like our B vitamins, phytates too. The phytates and oxalates will bind to B vitamins. Anything with a positive charge, magnesium, calcium, zinc, selenium, amino acids, B vitamins, all of these things, oxalates and phytates block the absorption. So that's why plant-based people need to take B12 or take B vitamins, because the plant anti-nutrients, the toxins in the plants do not want to be eaten. They cannot run from us. So they have built-in toxins. Anyone who eats plants are eating the toxins of the plant. When they're raw, you're eating more and at higher concentrations. If you cook your plants, boil them for 15 minutes, less toxins. Okay, less toxins. So that encourages better absorption of her 10% protein, amino acids, meat. In addition, because she's only eating 10% of her calories from protein, and she's eating 90% calories from plants, her bones are weakening faster than if she were to eat, say, even a 50-50 diet or 80-20. How about just 80-20? Bones need protein. Also, keep in mind that calcium is a part of our bones. So if you're eating a plant-based diet, the calcium cannot be absorbed. Vitamin D cannot be absorbed. Oh, I hear you saying that, well, I just take those. Whenever we take a synthetic vitamin or mineral, we are blocking normal physiologic processes in our body. You are changing normal cascades in our body. If you say, but Dr. Jensen, I hear everything you're saying. I really want to eat plant-based, and I'm just going to take those things and I'm going to call it good. Then I'm good with it. I'm here to provide you with enough information to make a decision that's good for you. And that decision might not be my decision. And yes, Toya says, heavy metals are in plants. Yes, plants are full of heavy metals. So the vegetables that people eat, especially the ones that are found below the ground, have the most heavy metals exposure. Arsenic and cadmium and mercury, all of the heavy metals, palladium, they're all in our soil. If somebody says, but people have been eating plants for decades and trillions and millions of years. Okay, well, our soil hasn't been as bad. In fact, our topsoil back in the day used to be like 6 inches. Now it's less than a half an inch, our topsoil. I'm in Iowa. We are monocropping all of Iowa. If we don't monocrop the land, we build apartment buildings. And when you monocrop, you're destroying the earth. You're destroying our topsoil. So constant tilling is getting rid of our topsoil. People don't understand that. And we're spraying glyphosate all over the place. It's in the air. It's raining down on us. The soil is full of chemicals and toxins, and you're eating the foods that are growing in that toxic environment. Okay? You're consuming these things from the soil. And if you eat carrots and potatoes and yams that grow below the soil, oh boy, you are really your potato is like all cozy, tucked in the soil full of heavy metals, and it's just all over. Okay? this, I know it sounds like it's not a big thing, and maybe for you it's not. I'm good with it. Lucy says, is anyone here on glucophage? How long have you taken? How have you done blood work and saw any improvements? Great question, Lucy. First, what is glucophage? And I know you know what it means, but glucophage is a nutraceutical. It is not FDA approved. It is I like to describe glucophage as breast milk in a capsule. It is 100% bioavailable. No, I shouldn't even say that. Why do I give a percentage? Because, glucophage is a bunch of amino acids, 708 amino acids, all strung together in perfect harmony, bound by sulfur. So it's amino acid, sulfur, amino acid, sulfur, amino acid. They are bound by sulfur. They're not denatured amino acids. They are a string or a chain of amino acids that are perfectly matched. There's also chromium in the glucophage. Chromium in the trivalent form, not the 6+ form, but the trivalent, the 3+ form. Chromium in the 3+ form, trivalent, is able to bind these heavy metals. So you guys out there eating plants like Kelly or anybody else who's eating a lot of plants, hey, should you take glucophage? Maybe. Glucophage is going to bind the heavy metals, sequester them, chelate them. Does EDTA do all three? No. Glucophage does. Maybe you want to consider that. You don't have to be a carnivore to take glucophage. You don't have to be a vegan to take glucophage. Probably everybody needs glucophage, only because we are so high in iron in our body because we're eating plants, which I failed to mention to Kelly. But all plants have non-heme iron, as opposed to heme iron. Heme iron is found in animals. Non-heme iron is found in plants or synthetic vitamins. Please do not take vitamins. Please do not take them. Eat food. Do not take synthetics. If you are eating a plant-based diet, you are consuming non-heme iron. Because you can't use it or absorb it, it gets into our tissues. It's in our tissues, our heart, our eyes, our skin, our kidneys, our liver. The master organ is overwhelmed with iron. So the person who asked about the diarrhea every time he eats, have you ever thought that they have cholestasis, a sluggish liver? It's not working. One, it could be strangled by fat. Two, he could have iron overload in that liver. Iron overload of non-heme iron, destroying. It's basically causing oxidation, inflammation. That's what heavy metals are doing. Iron is one of those metals that can cause oxidation. Think about iron outside in the rain and humidity. So in the presence of oxygen and water, what happens to iron? Exactly. It rusts. You have overabundance of non-heme iron in your tissues, and it's rusting. It's rusting in your eyeballs and in your skin and in your heart and your liver and your kidneys. Every organ is being destroyed by iron, by rust. You are rusting. So the more plants you eat, the more non-heme iron. So yeah, Lucy, I don't even care what their blood tests indicate. They should be taking glucophage to help bind up that non-heme iron or cause a transfer of non-heme iron to heme iron. But their hemoglobin, their red blood cells are very sick. Those who are plant-based have very sick red blood cells. They can't carry, they don't have any heme to carry, which carries oxygen. Their ability to get oxygen and iron, the good kind of iron, to their brain, to their periphery, to every organ in our body, it's diminished. Okay? Ian says, heavy metal, y'all. My house is built on heavy metals. Everybody's house is now. The soil is, it's just full of heavy metals. Lots of iron. Exactly. It is in the soil. I even found gold, silver, lead, platinum, copper, and others. I'm all rusty. At least Ian is admitting it. And when I check blood work, so go back to Lucy and her question with blood work, and is anybody checking blood? I like to check blood to get initial values. And in that, when checking iron, I want to get an iron level. I want to get a TIBC. Okay? I want to get a ferritin level and a transferrin level, and I like to get a protein S. But these 4, iron, transferrin, ferritin, and TIBC, are so important. And we get a baseline. And I can tell a lot. If I look at your iron studies, and then I look at your, like your MCV, mean corpuscular volume, and I look at your chem profile, I look at your liver function, there's so many things that can indicate whether or not you have iron overload. Iron overload of non-heme iron. You could actually have iron overload in the presence of iron deficiency. So your doctor will get a hemoglobin, and say your hemoglobin, you're a man and it's 12.5, and they say, oh gosh, you need to take iron. Go take some iron. Wrong. Do not take iron, because that's synthetic. That's non-heme iron. Your cast iron pans, non-heme iron. Your plants, non-heme iron. Synthetic vitamins, non-heme iron. All non-heme. You're already overloaded from birth. If your parents, your mom, did not breastfeed you, and your parents fed you formula full of toxic amounts of non-heme iron, plants, non-heme iron, vitamins, and minerals. So you started with the formula, and then you proceeded to start eating the food that your parents gave you, which is like goldfish and pastas and cereals and cream of wheat, all of those things, all fortified. All processed foods are fortified with non-heme iron. They didn't give you any animals. Here's what they said. Oh, I don't want them to choke. Seriously? If you don't want to choke, period. They need protein. Oh, they're getting enough protein from the plants in the Doritos. No, they're not. Kids learn what they live. Children learn what they live. And we are poisoning our children when we breastfeed them. So you're going to tell me next that what am I going to do? They need formula. I can't breastfeed. Do they need formula? Do you think that formula has always been? I mean, what did your people be way back there did? They didn't have formula. They might have had some goat or some sheep or some lamb or whatever, a cow, and they drank milk. They didn't have formula. Mom and dad might have chewed up the food, pureed it in their own mouth, and spit it into the baby's mouth for nutrition. They didn't have formula. Babies did just fine. If the baby didn't do just fine, what did that baby die of? It died of infections. That was the highest cause of death back then, infections. If they weren't breastfeeding it and getting immunity from their parents, death rate was very high. Okay? Mr. 420, this really hits home what you just said. I'm guessing you had a metal boat, like a Lund or something, but I had oxidation on my bass. Oh, it's a bass. On my bass boat. I had to wet sand it all. It was a pain in the ass. My dad, oh my gosh. He was just like you. Oh, we would put acid all over, trying to get rid of the oxidation and the little barnacles that grow, but oh my gosh. So he would put it up in the hoist. We would be in the lake, and he would put it up on the hoist, and he would be wet sanding, and we would bring all our tools, and half the time I had to be in the water because he was on the dock, and we're trying to get rid of the rust. And it's just, if you don't, and boy, we were really big into waxing. So Mr. 420, my dad's technique was get it off of there, stop the oxidation, wet sand it, and then apply good amounts of wax and do it on a regular basis to prevent that. Yeah, Ian, go to glucoferrin.com. I really think he's on YouTube. So Glucoferrin is on YouTube. He's on Instagram. Just watch some of the videos. Sometimes, he's into science. He's into, it's the things that that glucoferrin Iron Man talks about. And no, I was already Iron Lady Doc before he was the Iron Man, or he would tell me that he was the Iron Man long before I was the Iron Lady Doc. That could be, but we didn't know each other. And I'm still the Iron Lady Doc, and he's still the Iron Man. And now there's an Iron Girl, I hear. So, yeah, iron is a problem, and maybe you should. But Ian, before you start taking glucoferrin, can you just get an iron studies? Get a panel. Find out where you're at. Okay? Because just like Lucy, if she's on glucoferrin, she's interested in knowing, hey, you guys, is your iron improving? The people I'm testing, their levels are improving. It's unbelievable, and they're feeling great. I have this one lady up in Wisconsin, and talking about success, I mean, she was like one of my best success stories. And it's not, I don't work for glucoferrin, but I have patients who are on glucoferrin. Our circles all run together, and it is amazing. I would love to see Lucy's. I would love to see everybody's who's on glucoferrin. I would love to see your iron studies. I'd like to go over them with you. That's why I consult with you guys, okay? I think, gosh, let's look it over. Kelly says, I do have a gallbladder. I'm not on any medicines. I eat mostly legumes, organic tofu, and plant-based pasta. I don't know my ratios. I'd like to get my blood panel and go over them with you. I juice too. So the juicing, I'm guessing it's raw. Kelly, if there's one thing that I could recommend, if you're going to stay on the plant-based diet, please do not juice or eat raw plants. It's worse than anything. If you say, oh, I want to stay on this diet, I just encourage you to cook your foods thoroughly. But yeah, get a hold of me, Kelly. I'd love to go over your labs. And, thanks for not just going at me or me going at you. We have to work together. I want Kelly as healthy as I want Lucy healthy. I want you guys to feel good, but I also want you to be prepared to know, man, do I have fatty liver disease? Dr. Jensen, I'm skinny as could be. I don't have fatty liver disease. Well, you haven't eliminated the fact that you could be skinny on the outside and fat on the inside. There are a lot of people who have that. It's, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And it's a horrible, horrible disease. You got fatty liver disease, and it's killing you. You're choking out your liver, the master organ. There's one other thing that Kelly could do if she wants to stay on this diet. I would also recommend for her to go on glucoferrin. 1, it's going to help with the heavy metal toxicity. 2, it's going to help with her glutathione production. Her liver is not working on a plant-based diet as well as it could. So her production of glutathione is very low. That's why people supplement with glutathione. I don't recommend that either. We want a normal production, our own production from our liver producing glutathione, not taking synthetic glutathione. There's so many dangers to taking synthetic vitamins and supplements, you guys. Pretty soon it's going to be the next and greatest thing. Oh, take this, do this. I can't get on board. Yeah, if you're eating iron and you have full of iron, then I guess you are Iron Man. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to go over on YouTube. If you guys have questions, please put QQ, like Lucy over here. She put QQQ. Kelly's going to be 60 in October. I would love to consult with you, Kelly, and go over your labs and help you make really good decisions. My blood work was low on bottom, and B12, he put me on a supplement, 65, rheumatoid arthritis. So itis is inflammation. Emilia, you already know that you have an inflammatory condition. You most likely are eating an inflammatory based diet, and I can't remember what you told me you were eating or if you did, but you're likely eating a plant-based diet. plant-based diets are very inflammatory. The least inflammatory diet you can eat is a lion diet. Ruminant meat, salt, and water. With that amount of plant-based food, you're also telling me that your B12 is low. In America, in the United States, I like to see a B12 level as close to 1,000. That doesn't mean taking B12. That means you need to eat red meat. You cannot, if you're eating a plant-based diet, you cannot absorb your B12. The only chance you have to get your B12 up is to take a supplement form, but that is wrecking all of your antioxidant pathways in your body, the normal physiologic and biologic processes in your body. You're just inserting. For instance, when we talk about antioxidants, we start out with, say, vitamin E. And then vitamin E is going to hand the baton to vitamin C. And then vitamin C is going to hand the baton to NADH. And then NADH is going to hand the baton to glutathione. There is a normal progression of antioxidant production. If you were to just take vitamin C, which by the way you do not need, unless of course you're eating a very high carbohydrate processed food crapola diet, I would say that you need some vitamin C. Okay? Because the more sugar you eat and consume in form of carbohydrates, the more vitamin C you're going to need. Because the sugar displaces the vitamin C from the receptor. Sugar and vitamin C are almost a look-alike, and they hit the same receptor. Well, sugar is going to rush there faster, trust me, and that's going to knock off the vitamin C. So you're going to have to take in abundance of vitamin C in order to keep the sugar off the receptor. How's that? Where were we? Hyssop asks, ghee or butter, or what are you asking? Is that a question? Yes, consume ghee. Yes, consume butter. D-Man says, I have liver cirrhosis and fatty liver. Well, you had fatty liver and it led to cirrhosis. Do you guys believe that you can reverse liver disease? That your liver can regenerate? I believe that. I believe that your liver is one of the only organs that can regenerate. And can we reverse your cirrhosis? I hope so. D-Man, I hope you can. But the reason you got fatty liver is because your insulin level was high. Insulin makes fat grow. It causes hypertrophy of fat cells. Your insulin level is the problem that caused your fatty liver, then it caused your fibrosis, and then it caused your cirrhosis. If it's not too late for you, you need to stop eating all carbohydrates. And you need to eat probably, you need to go at it slow, but you need to get rid of carbs. Fat and protein should be in your diet. It's going to be a tough road back, but it needs to go slow. But you need to get that insulin down, and you need to start burning your liver fat and unchoking your liver. Your liver is fibrotic, scarred, hard. It's cirrhotic, and you could get liver cancer. But that doesn't mean, I hope that you don't give up on yourself and just say, you know what, I'll just wait for the transplant list. You need to start changing your diet now, because if you get on the transplant list and you get a new liver, you're just going to ruin the next one. You're just going to ruin the next one. I've had a real special patient that died of cirrhosis of the liver, and I could never convince her to change her diet. And she left behind a husband that ate the exact same foods, and he's got the exact same condition. And it's a terrible way to die, to watch somebody die of liver death, of, cirrhosis. She didn't have liver cancer, but she had severe liver cirrhosis, and she was on the transplant list, but livers are hard to come by. And it was just sad. It's a very sad way to go. So yeah, fatty liver cricket can be reversed. It can decrease your blood sugar, decrease your insulin, and then start some sprinting and watch that shrinkage of liver fat go away. You can your liver is regenerable. You can get it back. Kelly says, what do you think about all of the hormones in meat? I do try to eat pasture raised. Good for you. Here's the thing. I can go both ways on this. I want you to think through a couple of things. If I were to give you hormones, if I give Kelly hormones, I need to dose them in such a way, either every day. So you're either going to be on like a pellet, and it's going to dose you on a continuous basis through your blood. It's just going to be a slow release. And then every 3 months, you're going to get a new pellet, right? Because the hormones have a half-life. They're going to be out of your body, or else if I only gave them, Kelly, once a month, that's why birth control pills, it's hormones. I have to give them to you every day. Or I give you a slow release Depo-Provera shot, which lasts 3 months, but it's a slow release. So it's constantly giving you the hormone. Now, the reason farmers or ranchers give their animals hormones, testosterone, is because they want them to grow bigger, faster, stronger, so they can get them to slaughter faster. But they're going to grow them early in their stages. So they're going to give their hormones early in the stage. If they know that their cattle are going to slaughter in 2 months, do you think they're going to waste their hard-earned money buying hormones and injecting them into the animal? No way. So by the time they get to slaughter, they're going to have less hormone in their body that we consume. Also, they have multi-chambered stomach, and multi-chambered stomach is helping to filter out some of these things. But I truly believe, from thinking from a medical standpoint, if I give men testosterone injections, I tell them, well, depending on the length of the testosterone, is it a propionate, a cypionate, and enanthate? So propionate is very fast acting, in and out within a day or two. Cypionate, in and out maybe in 3 to 4 days. Enanthate, in and out. It's a slower curve, and then you dose it again every week. So what do I prefer for men when they're taking testosterone? If they're taking testosterone, I don't promote taking testosterone. We can get into that another day. But enanthate would be the best choice because it's a solid raise of testosterone. Then you dose it again before it goes all the way bottoms out, okay? You don't want them to bottom out. That's why you have to continuously dose them. So to answer your question, am I worried about the hormones in the meat? Not so much. I'm more worried about omega-6 linoleic acid from the grains that they're eating. So if you're eating pasta or you're eating PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acid, mostly in the form of omega-6 linoleic acid, you're destroying your body more so than the cow eating the food and then we eat that. Now, because they have multi-chambered stomachs, what about a chicken? No, monogastric. Turkey, monogastric. Pig, monogastric. Their fat, because they're eating the grain, if they're not pasture raised, if they're grain fed, their fat is going to harbor all of those omega-6 fatty acids, that linoleic. We do need omega-3s. We do need omega-6. They're essential fatty acids. We would want to get a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. Our ratios with today's diet, 20-to-1, 29-to-1. That is the average of omega-6. We do not need that much. We are poisoning ourselves with polyunsaturated fatty acids. I hope I answered your question in regards to the hormones, but I think by the time that animal gets to slaughter, the hormones are out of their body. They can't stay in the body that long. Okay? So yes, fatty liver can be reversed. Yes, Lucy, 708 amino acids in a chain, and they're not denatured. Like if you were to eat whey protein, whey or casein protein, and people say, oh, it's so great. I don't recommend processed whey protein or casein powders because you're just throwing in denatured protein. They're not in chains. You're trying to assimilate them. You're trying to assimilate them into your body, and you cannot. It's a waste of your money, and I think it's doing more damage than anything else. But glucoferrin is different because they are sulfur bonded. My mom is trying to call me, and she knows that I'm doing a live stream. Ian says, I eat just about, oops, it just disappears when you, I can't answer that phone. She doesn't understand. I just eat about anything, red meat, chicken, etc. Lots of vegetables cooked and fruits, probably not in the manner I should be. It's not regulated in any way. Well, get your labs, Ian, and let's look them over. You know, that's all you can do. Maybe you are metabolically healthy and you don't know it. But I would also make sure that you're getting getting iron studies. RJJ says, I used to make a micronutrient smoothie from kale, spinach, and other leafy green vegetables. It made me sick as a dog, lightheaded, and went into shock, pale and shaking like crazy. My friend thought I was dying. You might have had oxalate poisoning. I've seen one. I don't have a lot of people who are vegan in my patient platform. My clients are more on the ketovore, carnivore lion. Not that I don't have any, but I remember one guy, his wife was a vegan, and she wanted him to lose some weight. They both, you know, he wanted to lose weight, but she started making him all of these vegan dietary plates. And he was, you know, maybe trying to lose some weight. So she was making him shakes all the time, mostly of carrots, some kale, spinach. And he got so sick in a month's time. He actually thought he had Lyme disease. He thought because he was out hunting on his farm, he was covered in ticks and got bitten. So we checked a Lyme on him, negative. We did all the antibodies. We did it all. He wanted electrophoresis. He wanted everything done. He wanted to make sure he did not have Lyme disease because he had all of the symptoms. He was so weak, he couldn't get out of bed. He couldn't come to his appointments. He was about death. And his wife was nervous, so she kept giving him more carrot juices, more kale and spinach. The guy had oxalate poisoning. Oxalate poisoning. He also got kidney stones. We checked them. They were calcium oxalate. Oxalate binds to calcium. It's the most common stone. He was sick. I mean, sick. And so that could be what you had going on with the shakes and the pale, I mean, and the weakness. Chris says, my diet is drink about 10 cups of black coffee, I'm guessing per day, no sugar, only meat, 200 grams of protein, and you feel good, bad, indifferent? Tell me more. Oh, Chris says, is that healthy? I don't know. Is it healthy? How do you feel? Also 6 foot, 210. They said I had low body fat and that's not good. 39 years old. What was low body fat and what's not good? So many, you guys, when you, I know it's hard when you're just trying to, you're doing a continuous spin and you're just adding to it. It's hard sometimes for me to follow along. Oh, thank you, Jana. Jana also mentions that you can buy glucoferrin from metabolismiq.com. So glucoferrin.com and metabolismiq.com to get your glucoferrin. Dr. Christie and Dr. Slowinski, the maker of glucoferrin, they do work together. So you can buy them from both places. Dr. Christie is well-versed in looking at iron labs as well. So metabolismiq.com. Chris, I don't think I can answer your question with the low body fat. I don't know what your body fat is. I don't know what they consider low and what is abnormal. Okay. Okay, so D-Man says, I'm guessing cirrhosis, and have bleeding out almost twice a day so far. They said I could get on a list for transplant. What can I do to get ready for food-wise, like healthy? D-Man, I think you need to maybe consider consulting with me. But when you bloodlet, you're bloodletting all of your heme iron. You're actually doing yourself a disservice. You might feel that you have hemochromatosis, iron overload, but you have iron overload of iron, non-heme iron that's stuck in your tissues. No amount of bloodletting will get rid of non-heme iron. It will continue to worsen your liver failure. By switching to heme iron foods and getting rid of non-heme iron is in your best interest. And you're going to have to go slow. You don't want to just go cold turkey from a plant-based diet to an animal-based diet. Or in fact, you might not even tolerate going from a high carb based diet or a crapola diet, processed foods, into a carnivore diet, cold turkey. It's not going to be good for you because you got a lot of buildup in your body and it's going to cause a lot of reactions. You know, people say, oh, it's like a dumping of oxalates or a dumping of toxins. It is. And some people, it is very bad. It feels horrible. Toya says, what's the handle for Glucoferrin Ironman? It's at Glucoferrin, Glucoferrin. And then Dr. Christy is Metabolism IQ, at Metabolism IQ, or at Dr. Christy Henderson, SON, at Dr. Christy Henderson. They both sell glucoferrin and talk about glucoferrin nonstop. That's their whole life. Smiley PJ says, wow, Doc, blowing my mind today. Hopefully, Smiley, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. And yeah, I just love to share the information. Chris says, I have like 3% body fat, really cut. How are you checking your body fat? And I mean, I'm glad you are, but Chris, I mean, in such a way, I mean, are you a bodybuilder? Are you, are you high muscle content? You know, one of the things I worry about people who are very lean like this is they could, and no fat, they could actually have a Moby type diabetes or a LADA diabetes, essentially a lookalike of type 1 diabetes, and this worries me. So I would get, how do you be that lean and have high blood pressure? They say I work out too much. Well, I mean, going back to, is too much exercise can be hazardous for our heart? Yes. Right around 130 to 150 minutes per week is optimal, and any more than that. Now, I wouldn't say like going for a leisurely walk I include that in my 130 minutes. But what if you want to exercise 60 minutes, 3-4 days a week? That's why I stick with lifting weights and doing sprinting or, some sort of HIIT. But if you're working out that much, again, I'm trying to speculate and guess what you're doing, and having a consult would be in our best interest. But my goodness, being that low in body fat and having high blood pressure, something's going on that maybe they're not looking for. They don't have enough lab tests. And if you want a list of labs that I think you should get, whether you consult with me, I'll send you the list, okay? I'll send you the list and then you can give it to your doctor. If they won't order it, then you take the list from the lab that is recommended and from my list of labs, and you go get your blood work done. And if you want, we can consult. But email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com, and I can give you a list of what I think are good labs to get. And with those labs, I think any doctor, if they are brilliant, will be able to look them over. But I haven't found too many brilliant doctors. They're few and far between. I was not so brilliant about 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe more than 5. I think we had a lot of changes about 5 years ago. Oh, Lucy just checked her blood glucose, down from 99 to 89. And I'm guessing you didn't eat yet, Lucy, right? So it's just prior. So you're in time zone. So it is 9:41 there. Perfect timing, right, Lucy? Emilio says, you are so true. I got a stent put in my heart, and then I found out the doctor was called Dr. Stent, and it was at the end of the year when they're trying to make a quarterly. I don't want to put it past the doctors. Those interventional cardiologists get paid by doing procedures, okay? They think you're saving your life, but you know what? In all reality, Emilio, that stent will not give you any prolonged life expectancy. It's not going to give you any more days of your life. Okay? It's just not. If you continue to eat what you eat, you're going to have an area somewhere else that's going to get injured. The way you got the stent is because of how your lifestyle, what you eat, how you slept, lack or too much exercise, too little exercise. It all adds up. It all leads. And then say you live in a city, you're around pollution and smog and all of that, the injury to the lining of the arteries. Then maybe you smoke a little bit, you take some alcohol every once in a while, and you got a perfect storm, you guys, for coronary artery disease. And them just putting in a stent, he just saved your life temporarily, right? That's what doctors do. We're acute thinkers. We can save your life, but we can't suggest anything to prolong it, and we for sure can't prevent it, because why would we want to do that? Why would we want a bunch of healthy people roaming the earth? No way. I need to make a living. See, I used to joke with my patients, and it actually rang true. I used to joke with them. I said, you know what? Get so healthy that you put me out of business. Most of the people tried to do that. They did. They were very successful to put me out of business. I mean, you started with a humongous practice, and you start talking to people like online. Like right now, I can talk to 3,000 people in 1 or 2 hours. In the office, I can see, if I want to spend time with people, I'll see between 10 and 15 people. And saying this exact same thing over 10 or 15 times, it gets old. It gets old. But people, the ones that want to listen, trying to put me out of business. Now, I do all of this online. That's where I can hit the most people. I can educate them. Just give them information. I always give this, if your financial advisor asks you, hey, do you want to get some bonds right now? You got some cash built up in your account, in your money market. Do you want to buy some bonds, or do you want to buy some stocks? Well, what do you think? Well, it's going to depend, and they give you like some lip service, right? If they're not giving you any information. If you don't know anything about finances and you aren't provided with any information, how do you make a good decision? You know what you're going to say? Whatever you think. Well, how do you know what they think? Why don't you give yourself some information and then make your own decision? We are such robots, you guys. We don't even use our brains anymore. We sit back and we let somebody else tell us, just inject this and take this medicine, get this stent, do this thing, and you think they're going to save your life? No. Acutely, they might have saved Emilio's life with a stent. But they're not preventing further. They're going to say, take the statin. You know what? If you take a statin for 5 to 10 years, you're going to get 4 days extra of your life while you're experiencing all the side effects. Do they tell you about that? Did they informally consent? Did you get informed consent? Doctor, I want every negative. I want all the pros, and I want all the negatives. Well, you know what? You might get some muscle aches and pains, but the overall benefit is you're going to prevent coronary artery disease. Really? Is that why people who are on statins still have heart attacks? Is that why your calcium scoring tests actually go up on statins? They're not telling you that? Well, they just said to lower your LDL. And then if you're a man, your testosterone goes way down. Did they tell you that it was going to lower your testosterone? Well, why is that? Because you don't have any cholesterol. And then you're going to be at risk of blood clots because your vitamin K2 production or your K1 production is low. Well, what is that doing? Well, if you're on a statin, it's blocking the production of vitamin K, K2 and K1. They're not telling you everything. You are not getting informed consent. They're just saying, we just need your LDL at 100. In fact, you've had a stent, now we need it at 70. The lower the better. Oh, so I don't need cholesterol, doctor? Nope, none. You do not need any cholesterol. You either have a heart attack or you have cholesterol. Neither, doctor. I want cholesterol. It's good for my body, my immune system, all the cells in my body. My brain needs it. I need the cholesterol, doctor. You only need a little bit. No, that's not true. Chris says, my workout plan, I run about 5 miles a day, 3-hour weightlifting, 3 hours of weightlifting in one day. They took my blood. They said it was hissing. I don't know what that means. Blood doesn't, whatever. But Chris, you are chronically stressed. I would venture to guess that Chris is a prime candidate for thin on the outside, fat on the inside. Okay. Lucy, our moms might have been talking to each other. Yes, Lucy, spinach is full of oxalates. I agree. Toya, I don't know what you're referring to. Isn't it higher first thing in the morning? I don't know what you're referring to. Yes, Toya, just a reminder, I am on live streams every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central and every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central. And I'm just here to spread, give you information so you can use that information. If it clashes with your paradigm, even better. That gets you to go look stuff up. So I want the Kellys in the world to paradigm clash with me so they go look stuff up. Lucy says, great live, Dr. J. I have to go. God bless you all. Have a great Sunday. Linda says, I learned a lot today. Thanks, Doc. Have to go. Have a blessed day. All right. So everybody's kind of, let me see. Oh, there's my Lucy the other Lucy from California. Good morning. Slept in. Woke up to Dr. J sending firm, loving advice. I love Dr. J. My cancer treatment is continuing until October. Goal is to resume carnivore lifestyle and praise God. Grateful for Dr. J. Thank you for the kudos, Lucy. You guys, just as a reminder, this is live on Instagram and YouTube. This is not medical advice. It's for information purposes only. I hope that you will take some of the things that I have presented to you today, go look it up, and be like your own advocate for your health, okay? Amelia says, I learned a lot today. I'm going to follow you because I know my issues can be fixed with the proper information. Amelia, I know that you can be fixed. I really do. Those of you who are listening and are praying people, we're going to pray for Emilio to get healthy, for God to work in Emilio and to get him stronger, and for the doctors to have wisdom and knowledge and use the tools that God gave them to help Emilio. So this is important, and I hope that everybody will pray for Emilio and that he will, start looking stuff up, start gleaning from this information and get better and get healthy, get better, okay, you guys? All right. So with that being said, we'll call it quits today. And yeah. Okay, you guys? We'll see you next Saturday, next Sunday. Lord willing, I'll be back. See you guys.